And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth segment, which is going to be talking about some National League playoff predictions post the deadline. A lot of teams made moves that affects their playoff likelihood. I'll be giving who I think will be the 6 teams in the playoffs, and then going over what I think happens in these hypothetical series as well. Before that though, again, please like and follow the show, gsmcpodcast.net. You get the deal. Get a lot of questions from viewers. All that good stuff. So let's get back into the show for today. All right. So first off, again, National League post-deadline playoff predictions. Let's get into it. So at the first seed for the National League playoff predictions I have here post this trade deadline, I'm going to be having, of course, the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't think it's very likely that the Phillies get moved off of their first place seed for this year. They've been the best team in the NL really all year, have been absolutely fantastic, and I really like what they did at the deadline as well, adding Estevez. Again, I think they could have done more, but still a fantastic team. I think at this point it's very unlikely they will be moved off the first seed for the playoffs. Second seed, I of course have the Dodgers. No shocks here. Dodgers are one of the best teams in all baseball. It's going to be either them or the Phillies for the 1 and 2 seed, and just an absolutely fantastic season for them. I love what they did at the deadline, adding Jack Flaherty, Tommy Edman, Ahmed Rosario, Kevin Kiermaier, all that good stuff. All the players they added, really liked it. So I do have the Dodgers here at the 2 seed. The 3 seed I have, which is of course going to be the NL Central winner, I have the Brewers. I think no team is going to catch up with the Brewers. I think the Pirates, if any team, have the best chance. But I think the Brewers have just are so ahead of everyone else in the Central right now that I really don't think it's possible for another team to catch them up. Their offense could just fully crumble with the loss of Christian Yelich. I get that, but I just think right now that they are so far ahead of everyone else in the NL Central that I think they're going to win this. I honestly maybe think that Cardinals and Pirates are better teams on paper, but the Brewers have had a fantastic first half. Have had a lot of breakout players on offense, so props to them for being in this position. Now it gets fun. Now it's in the wild card. There's a lot of teams I consider for these 3 wildcard spots. I want to let you know them right away. We have the Pirates, we have the Mets, the Braves, the Cardinals, the Padres, the Diamondbacks. Those are the 6 teams I had that I genuinely considered for these 3 wildcard spots. But in the end, these are the 3 teams that I think will have things most go their way, did most of the deadline to help their cases, and where I think they will finish. So, 4th seed, probably going to be a little controversial. People are going to say I'm biased. People are not going to agree with it, but this is what I genuinely think happens. I think the 4th seed, the top wildcard seed, is going to be the New York Mets. And what a turnaround this would be, being like 15 games out from first place and then making the first wildcard spot. I think that simply put, the Mets are just on fire and have been for a little while. You could argue they've been the best NL team since really the start of May or June. Really added a lot to their bullpen at the deadline, which has been their biggest flaw this entire year. Added a nice lefty bat off the bench in Jesse Winker, who can also fill in while Charlie Marte is still hurt. I love what they did at the deadline. I think they have a fantastic team. I think the Braves pitching eventually is going to stop pitching as well as it has, and I think with how close the Mets are in that division, only a game and a half behind, I think that eventually they are going to pass the Braves and are going to become the first wild card seed for this year. Now, 5, I have the Braves. So it's not exactly like I'm just saying the Braves are going to stink and they suck. I just think that the Mets eventually are going to pass them and are going to stay in the first wildcard seed. I think that the Braves are going to have to make the playoffs with how well they've done this year and how big of a lead they are above everyone else right now. So I do have the Braves at the 5 seed, but I do think that eventually their division rival Mets do catch up with them and take over that first wildcard seed, which it seemed like the Braves have had locks on for a little while now. Finally, at number 6, this is a really tough decision. I was with 4 teams here. I was with the Pirates, Diamondbacks, Marlins, and Padres. It was a really tough decision, but in the end, I'm sticking with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think the Diamondbacks, with all the pitching help they're getting back, the fact their offense looked much better in the second half, Corbin Carroll might be finally turning the page and being back to Rookie of the Year Corbin Carroll. The pitching they're getting back down the stretch is unparalleled. And just an absolutely fantastic team I think they have here. An MVP candidate, Ketel Marte. I love the team, and I was very close to putting the Padres, the Cardinals in this position. I like what those 2 teams did at the deadline as well. But man, I think the Diamondbacks are going to get this seed because of the pitching getting back. So, let's go back now to this hypothetical playoffs. In the first round, it would have the three-seeded Brewers versus the six-seeded Diamondbacks. I would have the Diamondbacks winning the series easy. I think they're the better team than the Brewers as well. And also, with the pitching rotation they could potentially have in the playoffs, I think it would just be absolutely insane to face them. Brewers, their rotation is really the biggest down part of their team right now. The Diamondbacks were able to throw out to you Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Jordan Montgomery, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt. Just the pitching depth they would have, especially for a 3-game series as well. I do think they would end up winning this and beating the Brewers again. Exact same matchup of last year. Next, we would have the 4-seeded Mets versus the 5-seeded Braves. I have the Mets winning this series. I think these two teams are super even right now, and I do think that in the end it would just be who gets home field advantage, and that's the Mets do have here. So very, very close. I think we'll probably go to 3 games, but the Mets have the possibility of getting Senga back as well. Sean Manaea and Jose Quintana have been revelations lately for this rotation, and the Braves rotation at some point is going to regress. It's just got to happen. So I do have the Mets winning here. Going to the division series now, you have the 2-seeded Dodgers versus the 6-seeded Diamondbacks. This is where the Diamondbacks' run comes to an end. They will not be repeating as National League pennant winners. I just think in a 5-game series, with the Dodgers pitching all fully rested up and the Diamondbacks already having to use some of their great pitchers, the Dodgers can throw at you Tyler Glasnow, Jack Flaherty, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler if they need to, Bobby Miller as well if he gets better. So I think the Dodgers' big problems the last few years have been their pitching. And now with the additions they made in the offseason, now at the trade deadline, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, re-signing Kershaw, getting Jack Flaherty, I think they're overcoming that, and I think this would be the year for them to finally get back to the championship series, which they've so needed. Then we would have the 1-seeded Phillies versus the 4-seeded Mets. I'm not this biased. Phillies would obviously win. Fully rested pitching staff of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez would be absolutely hard for the Mets. Would be so hard for the Mets to beat, and I do think that they would end up winning this. So kind of a boring championship series here with the 1-seeded Phillies versus 2-seeded Diamondback. 1-seeded Phillies versus 2-seeded Dodgers, but just how I think it's going to end up happening. I do have the Phillies winning this hypothetical series and moving on to the World Series. I just think, again, this rotation is too hard, too much to deal with. The lineup is also insane, just so many great players after another. I think we'll be really close. I think we'll probably go to 7. I think it'll be a fantastic series, but I think in the end the Phillies would win. They get Game 7 in Philadelphia as well, being the first seed, and I think it's really hard to win a Game 7 in Philadelphia. Diamondbacks just did it, yeah, but I don't know if that'll happen again. With the pitching they have, you can throw everyone out at Game 7 because you're not really resting anyone. So, yeah, I think it'll be really hard for them to win. So, that is my National League post-deadline playoff predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comment, chat, all that as well. So, yeah, that is it for our 4th segment here. We'll be moving into our 5th and final segment, which is going to be talking about the American League and my post-deadline playoff predictions for this league. You just saw what I did with the National League, predicting all 6 seeds, and then going over the playoff bracket as well. So, yeah, we will be going over that for the American League, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks, and bye.